show. It's Movie Wire time. Oh, the Movie Wire. Bring the firing squad. Bill, Justin. Give the finger or laugh or smile. It's time to find out. No more waiting. So here we go. The Sultan of Cinema. The gumshoe of review. Here is Justin Henson. Let's start the show. Let's go.
Welcome to the Movie Wire.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Movie Wire. I'm your host, Justin Henson, and welcome to the show. We got a big show this week with 4 brand new movie reviews, with 3 playing in theaters, and we have 1 for our Movie Wire catch-up. This week on the show, Rebel Without a Cage, Their Fight, Our Future, and Mortal Kombat 2. A new breed of mystery in The Sheep Detectives. A cautionary tale based on George Orwell's famous novel comes an animated telling of Animal Farm. Then finally, we dive into our Movie Wire catch-up segment where legends are made in the cage in Beast, that's available to rent or buy now. We've got a lot to cover this week, so let's jump right in. Ready for my verdict? Let's get into it.
Out of the windows, a roar and a burst of flame.
The Movie Wire podcast.
You need people like me.
The Wire.
And here we go.
Every night, a shepherd reads aloud a murder mystery, pretending his sheep can't understand. When he is found dead, the sheep realize at once that it was a murder, and they think they know everything about how to go about solving it. In The Sheep Detectives.
If there's one secret to happiness in my life, it's taking care of the kindest creatures on earth. Sheep. I want you to meet my flock.
When I wake up, well, I know I'm gonna be.
I keep them well fed, well groomed, and each day I read out loud to them mysteries, whodunits. I know who the killer was. I like to pretend that they follow along, but they're only sheep.
Why would he stop there?
He was just about to say who the killer was.
This is torture. It was the maid, right?
When I wake up.
Wake up! Everybody wake up!
We found George on the grass, and he's not moving.
What?
Lily, tell us what to do.
Our shepherd was murdered. And we shall solve the crime. George was visited by someone he knew well enough to offer a drink.
Not much of a story for you, I'm afraid.
Unless there's anything out of the ordinary.
The policeman is completely hopeless. We need to help him.
You think you're brave enough to leave home?
We're not scared.
What is that?
I think it's a road.
But what is it made of?
Well, not grass, I can tell you that.
Are you coming?
For George?
For George.
Officer Derry, I am George Hardy's lawyer. He wrote a will.
In the nighttime stories, the people in the will are always the suspects.
That man had nothing.
Well, actually, there is $30 million.
And we have our motive. We need to look for clues.
Stand back! I am, after all, a sheep detective.
Who killed George? What are they hiding?
What if I can't solve it?
I've read you dozens of these stories. They follow very simple rules.
Look, the clue.
Every time something happens with this case,
That's my hat!
there they are. A clue.
Thank you all.
Sheep can do things. In fact, we can do anything.
I want to bash it! I want to bash it so bad!
What's with them?
Guys, I may be inside a clue! Ow!
You know, it hasn't been since Babe that we get an animal talking movie that by the time we walk out of the theater, even with some flaws, we simply just say, that's perfect. The Gentle Way Babe and now the Sheep Detectives tell a story like it's talking softly in your ear, telling you a bedtime story. The only difference here is that, unlike Babe, there's a murderer on the loose in a small, quiet town where everybody seems to have a motive and is a suspect. Even when the motives aren't fully explained, we are told merely a character just disliked our victim, and that's good enough for a motive. And it's hard to pick apart a movie like this because it's so damn charming, even with a murder at the central conflict. Hugh Jackman stars as George, a shepherd that has a bond with his flock of sheep, to the point he even has individual names and personality traits for him, including the smartest sheep of the pack, Lily, voiced by Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Every night, George reads to his flock of sheep a murder mystery until one night the mystery comes to the sheep, as George is found dead in their field. This leads to a number of suspects, including a competing shepherd, a butcher, a priest, a hotel owner, and George's mysterious son and daughter that he hasn't seen. At the surface, everything points to a natural death to what the town's absent-minded police officer, Tim Derry, played by Nicholas Braun, deems as a heart attack, until a reporter, Elliot Matthews, comes to town to report on the town's cultural festival, suspects foul play, and convinces our officer that this wasn't a heart attack. This leads Lily to help guide the investigation and help solve the mystery. Based on the book Three Bags Full by Leone Swan, in which, for this premise, we can tell Swan had a love for two things: murder mysteries and sheep. And when it comes to the pitch meeting to adapt this film, this is one of those stories that almost is deemed as it's so crazy it might work. And it absolutely does. And Craig Madsen, who adapted this to screen, who is known for Scary Movie 4, the superhero movie, and the last two Hangover movies, comes out of left field with such a sweet and deep adaptation. Now, in between the murder mystery, the Sheep Detectives has a lot to say, and it goes from simplistic messaging to heavy messaging. The layers of what this movie wants you to take away from it will be solely up to how much thought you put into it and how much engagement you have with the film. As I was watching the movie, I appreciated the simplicity of the surface level messaging of going against the flock or acceptance or even family. But as I was walking out of the film, I couldn't stop thinking about the layers it was trying to say about generational difference and breaking the cycle of behaviors that might not feel just or right after a traumatic event. And we do see a couple of examples of drama here that sets to break the cycle. But for the sake of spoilers, I will leave that out of the review. Now, like I said earlier in the review, the movie does have flaws, and it's hard to call out this movie on them because I actually feel guilty. Yeah, I said it. I feel guilty about naming the flaws of this movie because I know its heart is in the right place, and I hope the movie isn't mad at me for saying bad things about it. I couldn't resist. Bad joke. But anyway, when it comes to the human performances, they are charming as you took a hybrid of Paddington and Babe and put it in the blender. Even to Emma Thompson trying to play a dislikable lawyer, we can't hate her either, and she is actually a lot of fun. But what really didn't work for me is the voice talent behind our sheep. It's a hit or miss, and at times it can feel way too stiff as our talent is just reading their lines or not identifying with their characters. The most obvious is Bryan Cranston as Sebastian, a loner sheep that keeps his distance from the flock. Based on the appearance and his character definition, I didn't hear much emotion from his voice. I didn't hear enough pain. And when we first hear him talk, the first reaction is, oh, cool, it's Bryan Cranston, yay! But then it just doesn't feel right. And when it comes to Julia Louis-Dreyfus, she does a decent job. But again, at times we run into the problem and the feeling that our talent are just merely reading their lines and not embedding the characters or really feeling what these characters are really trying to do or say. It really is a hit or miss. The second issue I have is when it comes to the reveal of who, what, why, when, and how, the reveal feels a little far-fetched and overly complicated without building up to a believable arc where we can nod our heads and say, okay, I'm bought in. I can buy into that. The main issue stems from Derry, our officer that started the movie, not knowing he shouldn't touch evidence. Then he became Sherlock Holmes by the end of the movie. That didn't have me sold. But Nicholas Braun as Officer Derry is still a lovable character, and he never really goes into a farce comedy of dumbness. It's a really well-balanced character. We just don't get the crescendo, the arc, or the believable growth from him to make the payoff feel natural. But even with these flaws that would normally irritate me, the movie does a great job on staying light in tone, subtly powerful in dialogue, and with Minions director Kyle Balda's smart direction, he keeps this movie going at a brisk pace, where as subtle as it is, it never has a dull moment. This is a movie that will put a smile on your face all the way up to the credits and will leave you in thought while leaving. The sheep detectives, in between the murder and the mystery, inserts messaging about generational lessons and acceptance, and is the sweetest murder story that has ever been told. And I don't know if it's right to call a murder mystery sweet, but the sheep detectives sure does pull it off. I'm giving the sheep detectives 3.5 stars. A satirical fable following an animal revolution as pigs seize power and the farm descends into a ruthless dictatorship, fulfilling George Orwell's warning about the dangers of communism in this George Orwell's adaptation of Animal Farm.
Cock-a-doodle-doo!
Hi, Lucky.
What's up?
We are going on vacation.
I do hope it's somewhere good.
What does that say?
Laughter House!
That sounds awesome. I love to laugh.
It's a slaughterhouse.
Look at all this deliciousness. They want this.
Do you want to be food, or do you want freedom? Then let's fight for it! We're free! Whatever goes upon 2 legs is an enemy. 4 legs, good. 2 legs, bad. No animal shall wear clothes.
Huh? What? We're show pigs.
And all animals are equal.
Animals running a farm? I had to see it for myself.
Thank you. Aw, so cute.
Activate cute eyes.
I'd rather gouge them out.
I want that farm.
We should move into the farmhouse so the humans know we're in charge.
You are about to become my new best friends. Pigs and humans working together. I like the optics.
Oh, we love the optics. What are optics?
I think it's a kind of seafood. You're wearing clothes!
Would you look at that? I am.
Everything's different, but we're still friends.
All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others.
This is our home.
Squealer!
I parked the car!
Let's have no one do that again.
A cautionary tales.
Now, there has been Animal Farm films dating all the way back to the animated film of 1954. All of them had their flaws with adapting George Orwell's book. And as the tagline of Animal Farm goes, with stating, a cautionary tale, I will follow in those footsteps of the Movie Wire's cautionary review of avoiding Animal Farm at all costs. As the credits rolled and I sat through the credits of Animal Farm, there was a red box countdown to say, stay in our seats for a farm meeting, which I thought was going to lead to a mid-credit scene and hinting at a sequel, and which would have set me over the edge. Instead, it was just a shot with 2 QR codes, one to scan if you liked it, and wanted more, and the second to scan if you say no more. And I quickly grabbed my phone from my pocket to scan the no more. What appeared on my phone was a propaganda screen from the main pig, Napoleon, which states my opinion is wrong, and to donate for other people to see this movie. What in the actual fuck? If there was anything to piss me off more, that was the exclamation mark for this movie. This is the first time I have gotten up from my seat in mid-credits and gave the finger to the screen. And I know, I've always said to stay during the credits. But this movie is lucky I stayed past the 30-minute mark, so I found it justified. Adapting Animal Farm, I know, it's not an easy feat, especially in today's political climate. And this is where filmmakers can either go all in or play it safe. In Nicholas Stoller's adaptation, it's not just safe, it's a bedtime story with white noise while Matthew McConaughey is singing you a lullaby. The only difference is while Matthew McConaughey is singing you a lullaby, he's getting kicked in the balls every other sentence. Stoller's adaptation, we can tell, wanted all the cutesy animals with mild stakes, but didn't want to focus on that, the whole topic of the book, the negative communism stuff. He wanted it fluffy, he wanted it happy with no stakes involved. And I had a little discussion after I viewed it with a peer, and he said it's simplistic because it was meant for kids, it's an introduction to the flaws of communism, and I said bullshit. Because we have scenes that makes light of a horse being sent to a glue factory with no explanation. And if your 5, 6, 7-year-old can put together what happens to a horse at a glue factory, then we can have something more advanced. With how rushed, simplistic, and surface level Stoller makes this adaptation, George Orwell is not just rolling in his grave, he's digging down south the hell to get away from this movie. Stoller has made some fluffy movies from the past to attempt the fun factor. His most notable is the fantastic reboot of The Muppets from 2011, but then we have Sex Tape, Zoolander 2, Neighbors 2, yeah, I even forgot there was a sequel to that, then Night School, and last year's god-awful You're Cordially Invited. But what makes this worse is that our upcoming director of Lord of the Rings, The Hunt for Gollum, Andy Serkis, read this script and said, I'm in. This isn't an adaptation. This is a stolen premise and concept that is so loose from the book with an attempt at modernizing it. It should have had a completely different title. And in today's world, there is a lot to play with to become a modern adaptation. But the film never even really taps into that except using modern technology as props of luxury. This is an adaptation that hints at where it could have gone, but instead of actually putting in, some thought as Orwell did in his written novel, it's a complete disrespect to the original source material. The movie just took the idea to make communism cutesy, cuddly, and in all the way glorifies it with no ending result of stakes. The difference here with the other adaptations over the years, I had at least some emotional stake with these characters. Here, none. No emotional stakes. There is nothing. When something bad happens to a character, the music doesn't work, the screenplay doesn't work, the animation doesn't work. There's nothing here to really engage with this story. This is one of those movies where walking out, I had to ask myself, did nobody read the fucking book or read the fucking script? We have Seth Rogen, Steve Buscemi, Glenn Close, Kieran Culkin, Woody Harrelson, Jim Parsons, Kathleen Turner, all doing voices here. And it's like they heard Andy Serkis and an animated Animal Farm adaptation and nobody read the damn script. And they automatically said, I'm in. The problem we have with this movie, as much as I want to blame Serkis, it's only his fault for taking on the project. The written adaptation is at the core of the problems, where there is no attempt at creativity to the point it's insulting. And the movie breezes by so many conflicts, it's really hard to ground ourselves into any of the characters. It's like listening to the audiobook of Animal Farm at 2 times speed with listening to Boomhauer from King of the Hill try and tell the story. What pisses me off more than anything, other than calling this Animal Farm, is the fact Animal Farm was due for a current retelling of the story, and because of this pile of farm animal crap came out, we won't see another one again. And if we do, it's going to be a really long time. This is a cinematic cockblock for actual writers that wanted to create a great film and honor the original source material. Now, let's talk about the animation. The animation, there's nothing special about it. It's just cookie cutter animation that follows the theme of the movie. Lazy. Even if I took Orwell's book out of it, this movie would still be considered so. The fact that this novel exists just makes this movie that much worse. Animal Farm is a cautionary tale, and here it gives new meaning and a lesson before you even decide to buy a ticket to it or decide to rent or buy it when it hits VOD. Protect your money, save your money, because Animal Farm is one of the worst movies of the year and one of the worst animated films since the Emoji Movie. I'm giving Animal Farm No stars.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby.
Now, before we get into the rest of the show, make sure you check out my reviews for movies that just became available to rent, buy, or stream now.
Now available on video cassette.
Believe in Hail Mary that I believe was too long, I believed it looked great, and I believed it was a good theater experience to receive 3 stars. Do not overlook any anomalies. Based on the video game comes Exit 8. It scored limited dialogue and based on a video game had a lot to say to receive 3 stars. Witness the wedding of the year and witness drama that doesn't stop after the reveal in the drama that received 3.5 stars. New game, Fresh Blood, Double or Nothing, and Ready or Not 2 that really didn't add anything, but subtracted the fun factor to receive 2 stars. Nature Can't Be Silenced in Disney Pixar's Hoppers that taps into all the emotions from heart to thrills for a perfect family adventure to receive 3.5 stars. Let Them Try in an admirable attempt at a survival thriller in They Will Kill You, but added nothing new to the table except moments of entertainment to receive 2.5 stars. Witches in Retail that mixes The Craft and Mean Girls, and I was all for the witty dialogue that drove the entertainment factor in Forbidden Fruits that received 3 stars. Everyone deserves a second chance, except Reminders of Him, that I never want a reminder of this film to receive 1.5 stars. Be Afraid of the Silence because it wants to be heard in Undertone. That was an underwhelming paranormal experience to receive 2 stars. Elvis Presley like you've never seen before in Epic Elvis Presley in Concert. That was a refreshing experience of the king himself receiving 4 stars. Here Comes the Motherfucking Bride in The Bride that I wish actually had some better fucking things to say to receive 2.5 stars. Meet Your New Nightmare, He's Coming for You, but you will be okay if you just leave the theater or turn it off in Psycho Killer that received 1.5 stars. You're Never Too Small to Dream Big in the animated film Goat that actually was the GOAT to receive 3.5 stars. Meet Linda, she's from Strategy and Planning, and she's the boss now in Sam Raimi's Send Help, which I'm glad I didn't need to send help for this film, receiving 3 stars. Dream Big in Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie that I knew nothing about, but it's so dumb to be good to receive 3 stars. Flaming Fury in Avatar Fire and Ash that again is one of those movies that it's hard not to take the visuals, music, and theater experience into consideration, but it won't be on my rewatch list, but it's enough to give it 3 stars. Burn It All Down, and another entry to the Scream franchise comes Scream 7, which was simplistic, looked fantastic, but we are really running out of villain ideas here, guys, but still a fun time to receive 3 stars. Be With Me Always, Take Any Form, Drive Me Mad, which defines my review. You had me in the first act, then I asked it to be a different movie, and it ended with driving me mad with frustration and Wuthering Heights that received 2 stars. Sometimes heartbreak is only the beginning, with Kevin James being left at the altar in Solo Mio. That hits all the right notes for a rom-com written by dudes, and a movie that makes that clear, receiving 2.5 stars. Their shift has hit the fan, and if it spreads, You're Dead in Cold Storage that teeters on the fun factor but never really gets there, receiving 2.5 stars. You're Not Prepared for What's About to Go Down, and I sure wasn't, and good luck, don't die, have fun. That damn it was a lot of fun, receiving 3.5 stars. Revenge brings a revelation in The Strangers Chapter 3 that it should be a revelation to the filmmakers to stop fucking making these movies, receiving 0.5 star. The Future of Criminal Justice is Artificial Intelligence in Mercy, where we spend a couple hours staring at Chris Pratt until we say, Lord have mercy, as it over, receiving 2.5 stars. A Hidden Life, A Dangerous Past, A Storm Closing In is the generic tagline to any other fucking Jason Statham movie. That even for a Jason Statham movie was below par, receiving 1.5 stars. You Live Here Now and Return to Silent Hill, which will be the tagline if I end up in hell, followed by an eternity of watching Return to Silent Hill, receiving 0.5 star. Now, before we get into the last set of reviews, there is a podcast that I absolutely love, and it's with my favorite Wilson family, and that's the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast. Make sure you follow and subscribe. The link to that show will be in the description of this episode. But let's hear from the Super Familiar with the Wilsons podcast now.
Hey Josh, I'm finally ready to do something fun every Wednesday.
Alex, finally. We're going to talk superheroes, movies, animation, comics, and much, much more, right?
Yes, but we're also going to talk Star Trek.
Make it so, my friend. Catch Talking Smack every Wednesday on your podcatcher of choice. We will see you there, Smackheads.
The fan favorite champions, now joined by Johnny Cage himself, are pitted against one another in the ultimate battle to defeat the dark ruler Shao Kahn that threatens the very existence of the Earth realm and its defenders in Mortal Kombat 2.
You want to know what makes a hero? It's not destiny. It's not something you're born with. It's searching for greatness.
Johnny Cage, you have been chosen for Mortal Kombat.
Then realizing you've had it in you this entire time.
Whoa! I really don't feel comfortable hitting a girl.
Don't worry. You won't.
Yo, send me back. I want to go back.
The rules of the tournament are simple. Our fates would not be settled by the size of our armies. They would be decided by combat.
I'm not some great warrior. I'm not some champion.
This is a war for the fate of your world.
Finish him! Me?
Earth belongs to me.
We do not kneel!
Our only chance is to face this together.
Let's go, baby.
You, Johnny Cage, are a part of this now. It's showtime.
Get over here!
Johnny will definitely die.
Remember Mortal Kombat 1 from 2021? I sure the fuck don't, but I know I saw it, and, I tried to revisit the first one. I put it back on for about 15 minutes before going to the second one, and then I walked away from it, and then I forgot to put it back on. That's how memorable the 2021 Mortal Kombat was. It's almost like a fever dream. Now, if we were talking about the 1995 version, which holds the record for the most watches for a movie with me that I have seen in a theater, because it was pretty cool. And in fairness, the original for a 13-year-old kid who was just allowed to go to the movies on his own might have something to do with it as well. But here's what the 1995 version had that the 2021 didn't have. A smart runtime, memorable characters, brisk pacing, a movie that didn't take itself too serious, and violence just enough to appease a vast audience, and of course, the first time we have seen these characters on the big screen. Fast forward to 2021. The 2021 version was long, the characters too serious, not over the top, the performances are bland, and it just felt like it was banking on the license instead of actually creating a movie of enjoyment. Now, fast forward to 2026, where honestly, you don't need to see the original to get the gist of this, because I went into it forgetting the original anyway. The 5 old ladies walking into my theater, I would have assumed didn't as well, since I saw them theater hop from another movie when I was walking in. And I'm sure even for a free movie, I was going to guess that these 5 old ladies, they were going to walk out at some point of the movie. Stay tuned for that update. Now, Mortal Kombat 2 does some things that are improvements from the original. First, it has moments of attempts to have some humor with itself. It has some fun here and there, which is where the movie is usually at its best, including a couple of scenes with CJ Bloomfield's Baraka in it, along with some Let me just clarify. Let me be clear on this. Some moments of visual style that is memorable. But these are mere moments. Most of the time it looks so artificial and it doesn't take us into the environment. Where the movie doesn't learn its lesson is the fact that, again, this is way too long. And given the amount of fight scene, which I get it appeases fans, but take out the fight scenes and the movie would have been less than an hour long, it feels like. This, again, could be on purpose as trying to appease fans and keep to the serious tone. But for me, it became repetitive and almost mentally exhausting, where we get too much of the same thing and it just feels mind-numbing. Those that have listened to my John Wick reviews, I tackle this topic of repetitive action that makes Justin very sleepy. And even though the movie attempts high octane, my eyes started to get heavy. But I figured we are about an hour and 15 minutes into this, and the group of old ladies haven't walked out yet, so I should at least try and make the attempt to stay awake. And hear me, it's not because Mortal Kombat 2 is a bad movie, because it's not horrible, and it's definitely not as forgettable as the first film, but it tries so hard to shove so many fights, so many characters into this movie surrounding a simplistic plot, you might as well just watch somebody play the game on Twitch or YouTube. Most of us know the premise of Mortal Kombat, where fighters from different realms compete to protect their planet. Here, fighters get 10 chances, 10 tournaments to protect from the evil Shao Kahn from taking over Earth. And the Earth has lost 9 out of 10 tournaments. This is where washed-out movie star Johnny Cage, played by Karl Urban, is recruited to fight in the tournament. This is where the movie brings up a good question. Out of about 8 billion people, why? Why Johnny Cage? Why a washed-up actor? We get the hint he hasn't trained, he's out of shape, and when he is summoned to fight, he's a couple drinks in at a bar, where I would have loved to see a Mortal Kombat bar fight versus another realm, to be honest, and it probably would have saved the studio some money on the CGI. But to justify it, the movie inserts lines that are generic to make an excuse why he's there, where Raiden, played by Tadanobu Asano, sees more to him than what he sees. By the way, Christopher Lambert did it better. But anyway, I said it. These are simplistic lines that are just inserted. The movie never really gives us anything of belief to prove why Johnny Cage is there. Because it's so bloated with characters, the movie has to balance. This is where it's a missed opportunity, where we could have seen Karl Urban really dominate the screen in a likable character, an interesting character, a funny character. But instead, the movie gets greedy, and the more characters, the better. Mortal Kombat 2 was written by 2015's Fantastic Four writer and Godzilla Kong, the New Empire writer Jeremy Slater, where I'm starting to get what his writing is throwing down, is assuming that the viewer already knows the idea, and his screenplay just focuses on the action, inserting characters that the director and filmmaker can work with. And we see all that here with the screenplay, which is very simplistic, but first-time director of the first film, Simon McWood, treats this as a sandbox. At times, it's a fun spectacle. At times, it overstays its welcome. And the action is so heavy, we forget we have stakes, that the Earth is in danger. And we have to have a reminder of a flaming, colorful scoreboard in the sky to tell us what the stakes are. In which, to me, doesn't make sense, because we are given the line that people are going to die in this tournament. That's why they call it Mortal Kombat. This is a line in the movie. But we see multiple people get spared, but they still lose. What are the fucking rules here? Where's the referee to determine who wins? But it's all at convenience of the story, I guess. Mortal Kombat 2, it is an improvement over the original and pure spectacle. It has some moments. Again, moments of fun. But needed to be shorter with less characters and a script to amplify the stakes. And as our parents told us while playing Mortal Kombat, go outside. Video game time is over. By the hour and 45-minute mark of this film, I wanted to tell the old ladies behind me, go play outside. And guess what? They stayed the entire time. So I guess there is an audience for Mortal Kombat 2, even if it's free. I'm giving Mortal Kombat 2 2 stars.
Theaters to streaming seems too short, so that can only mean one thing. It's time for the movie Wire Catch.
legend Peyton James, now a commercial fisherman, is pulled back into the cage when his brother is in danger. Reuniting with his old coach Sammy, he commits to one final fight in one championship against his brutal champion, Xavier Grau, in Beast.
Why do we train so hard? So I can breathe. Why do you need to breathe? So I can think. Why? If I can breathe, I can think. If I can think, I can win. That's the way, boy. Come on.
Now let's get it all in perspective.
You are one of the greatest MMA middleweights of all time.
Come on!
Now, you're working on a fishing trawler. I'm not a fighter anymore. Your brother has some debts that need attention. Come out of retirement. Fight the world champion. Or else we burn down your world. I need 6 months. You have 7 weeks.
Now let's get it all in perspective.
I took a fight.
When's the last time you trained?
It's been a while. It's got no engine, no urgency. You like wasting my time. Let me ask you something, man to man. What kind of little bitch are you? I'm the guy that's gonna knock your ass out. I fought for my life every day. Put on a show. No excuses. There's 2 people that know who are gonna win this fight. There's you, and there's me.
You know I'm where you and your men at.
What's the fight plan? Punch that punk in the face. It's a good plan.
Yo, my move is real rude. I lay you out, show you what still do. Monsters don't box, my pump shot a block.
Patton James out of retirement for the shot he never got. This fight is all about redemption.
If I can breathe! If I can breathe!
It's always the nastiest.
I can think! I can think!
I'm a leader at last.
Can he continue fighting? Get him, baby! If I can think! If I can think!
I'll show you what still do.
And I can win!
Okay, here is another Movie Wire catch-up, and, you know, I wanted to see Beast, but at the same time, the movie times never lined up. I didn't have the access to the theaters. I can make every excuse in the book, but it doesn't really fucking matter. This is one that I wanted to see, and finally it's available to rent or buy on streaming platforms. So, let's take a look at Beast. Okay, all right. Look, I have talked about this before with Sports Movie on the show, and I've also talked about it on Back to the Balcony. Sports films, we know the formula, we know the outcome. It's about how entertaining or effective the tropes are and how we get there on the journey. And me not being an MMA fan, I knew this was going to have to work harder to gain my attention. Daniel McPherson plays Patton James, a mixed martial arts fighter who holds the record for a 6-second knockout against Xavier Grau, played by Brendan Foster, where after James ends up in jail only upon release becomes a commercial fisherman, only until his brother Malone, played by Moheen Aria, is also a fighter, gets injured in a fight against Xavier. Looking for another fight and rematch, Xavier tempts Patton James back into the ring with a hefty payday, where James can pay off his brother's debt and give his growing family a head start. James revisits his past internal conflicts and his old coach Sammy, played by Russell Crowe, to train in 7 weeks before the fight to collect a check or protect his legacy. That's the question that dangles over the story for the viewer to decide. Revenge, pride, underdog, family conflict, redemption, legacy, all the boxes are checked here. And even though I don't follow the MMA, I found myself cheering to the screen to get up. Don't turn that way. Block that shit. Or why didn't you block that shit? The strongest part that Beast has going for it is that the fight scenes are absolutely well done, where it's our director Tyler Atkins has the viewer in the palm of his hands, where he is controlling where he wants her eyes to go, to the point I found myself dodging punches from my couch. This is also where we get some great editing from Todd Miller. but the editing can be the movie's biggest flaws when it comes to balancing. When we don't have a fight scene, especially when trying to capture emotional moments to really get sucked into our characters, we have moments of flaws. For example, we have a scene about, I think the hour and 20-minute mark, where we have McPherson sitting outside, where his partner and future mother of his child, Luciana, played by Kelly Gale from last week's review of Deep Water, where we can see an Adrian-Rocky familiar relationship here. Luciana enters the scene on what is set up to be an emotional conversation, and instead, we get a shot of Luciana's chest that comes across like it was a joke by our editor to almost ruin the setup. It is a very sloppy edit to really make us do a double take on why we made that decision of jiggly boobs before an emotional scene. I had to tilt my head in confusion. We have little mistakes, if you want to call it that, in the editing throughout the movie. But the fight scenes, again, are where the filmmaking is at its strongest to really catapult this movie into engagement. Now, Beast was written by David Frigerio and Russell Crowe, and we can tell the vision or the type of movie they were thinking about because where the fight scenes are solid, the emotional stake is not. The film has numerous opportunities to really have us zero in on the emotional stakes of these characters, and instead, we are just fed situational stakes to have us attempt to care. But with how much conflict Patton James has, we either need to narrow the conflicts or have more screen time hashing them out. Especially when we get to the conflict between James and his old coach Sammy, again played by Russell Crowe, where there is bad blood between these two for reasons I will leave out, because the reveal does a decent job on adding a unique layer to not make it feel cliche. The reveal makes us say, that kind of makes sense. The chemistry that we do see between McPherson and Crowe are good enough for me to say, I wanted more. But that is also a sign that what I did get is enough to have me say, I did want more. The performances from not just these two, but the ensemble, if we look at a sports movie, they are engaging. Even though the classifications of these characters are cliche, it does the job it needs to do. All the way up to the final fight where we are cheering and shouting at the screen along with our characters. And as we get to the final fight, it's everything you want from a sports movie. High energy, stakes, the moments that make us want to stand up and cheer, even moments we think the movie isn't going to end with a good outcome, even though we all know how these movies end. But a good sports movie convinces us that the outcome might not go the way we think, and we get sucked into the fight, distracting us from thinking about the outcome, but what's happening in the moment. Now, in between the fight scenes, the emotional level doesn't go far enough. There are a lot of conflicts going on between a relationship, family, friends, money, and the big fight. The movie never really settles or never can decide what to focus on. Each conflict feels like a round robin between fight scenes, where I feel bad for Patton because he has to fight with all these conflicts going on in the background that can be emotionally painful, just as painful as a punch to the face. But nevertheless, if we look at this with the lens of the sports movie formula, it has good performances, it's entertaining, it's engaging, and does the job it needs to do. It gives us the engagement, it gives us the feel-good feelings, even though it could have gone further, but at the same time, it's the ending result. Does this sports movie make us root for the main character? It does. Does it really make us engaged by the time the final fight happens? It does. Does it make us cheer for his success? It does. So for that, I'm giving Beast 3 stars.
And that's a cut on this week's edition of The Movie Wire. I want to thank you for listening and thank you for your support. You can also show support by following me on Instagram, Blue Sky, X, Thread, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, and Letterboxd at Movie Wire Show. And please don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you haven't yet checked out the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and the Movie Wire's crossover show, Back to the Balcony, make sure you do. Again, the link of that show will be in the description of this episode. Until next week, do me a favor. Make sure you stay for after the credits to show the respect to those that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making a feature film and support your local movie theaters.
Just inside it up with pride by our side. See you next week. Don't forget.
Thank you for bringing me to the movies.
Let the credits roll. We say farewell. Join us next time. We'll have more tales to tell.